G'day, Mike from Aussie Mike's Bees. It's been a little while since I've talked to you. I'm going to give you a little update about what's been going on. Now, I landed up losing a whole bunch of colonies to Varroa, a combination of Varroa weakening the colonies and then small hive beetle coming in and just overrunning them. Now, I haven't been treating chemically until too late, I would say. What I've been doing is pulling out frames of capped brood, trying to keep the numbers down, and I was succeeding in doing that. The mite counts were consistently below threshold, and I was doing that every couple of weeks or so. But then I had to go away for work, and I had an extended time where I could not get in the hives. And I tell you what, if you get off schedule, those mites just skyrocket. We're in that unstable, high reinfestation period at the moment here in New South Wales, and it just took over like crazy. So when I finally got back, I saw dead bees crawling around the concrete, dead and dying, and when I pick up some of those bees, they'd have 2 mites on them. So that was heavy infestation straight away. And I hit them with Formic Pro. The infestation has been around for too long. The bees are already heavily injured, and the formic acid tends to kill a lot of bees. I've seen this happen with club members where their colonies get treated with Formic Pro and then there's a pile of dead bees, and it could even cause them to abscond. Because what happened is I found that my bees would have been pretty heavily injured in that time. The mite drop in the days after was massive. So the infestation level was huge. Within 2 weeks of beginning that treatment, nothing left. They were completely slimed out. So I've cleaned everything up. A very kind member of my local club listened to my story when I told them about it at the club meeting, and she's given me one of her 2 5-frame nuke boxes on top of each other, so 10 frames. So I'm going to put them in the LongLang. I'm taking this opportunity as a bit of an update on the LongLang. It was one of the ones that perished. They were booming. They were doing so well. Alas, they succumbed as well. My fault, completely my fault. And I would do things a bit differently if I had my time again, but it's a learning experience. First of all, why was I removing frames of cat brood to keep the numbers down instead of doing traditional treatment techniques? I was waiting for my Varroa controller device to arrive in the country so I could treat with that, and I wanted to start from scratch, no chemicals, only use the heat treatment. But it just arrived a couple of weeks too late. Now I'm beginning from scratch. This nuke box that Lynn gave me currently has Varroa in it, so I'm not going to disrupt that. When I transfer them over, I will transfer the strips with it until that treatment is complete. But after that, I'll be moving to Varroa controller. So lessons learned on the LongLang. It's been in operation for, coming on to 2 seasons now. And there's been a couple of things I've learned about it. Probably early on, what I learned was the queen excluder. Now, I had such a good time making this, and you can hear about it on a previous video, but I didn't listen to my own information about bee space. And when I made this, that's about a 25mm width of timber with a stainless steel queen excluder fitted into it, and that means that the space on either side of that excluder is greater than bee space. And so what they landed up, you can see what's left of the cone they built that out and filled it up with honey. And I think, Mike, you've blown it. You didn't even listen to your own advice. And of course they filled up the space in between this and the frames next to it. So lesson learned. Will I use an excluder? Well, I only use an excluder long enough for them to draw out two or 3 frames on the other side of the excluder, and then I remove the excluder anyway, because those 2 frames of drawn honey become a barrier for the queen. She tends not to go across, and I found that to be exactly what's happened. Lesson number 1, it proved to me that that approach works. The other lesson is make this narrower I might not need it this time round because the bees I'm putting in there, there's an excluder between the bottom 5-frame nuke and the top 5-frame nuke, so theoretically it should be just honey in the top, and that will be my queen barrier. Other lessons, I had the jar system with these 3D printed caps for the bees to corral beetles into, or beetles and beetle larvae. Now have a close look at that. I did 2 different versions to see how they'd go. Now this is the bars one, sort of a bit like a queen excluder but sized down for beetles to fall through. Interestingly, these are flexible enough because it's so thin that bees landed up crawling their way through and falling into the jar. So that's mistake number 1. This other design was just full of holes where you could, if you didn't have a 3D printer, drill a whole bunch of holes in an existing lid. But they've propelised most of it up. There's very little space left in between there, just some up the top there as you see, and they've propelised the rest of the holes up. So I won't use holes design. I've come up with this alternative. Now side by side you might not see the difference between those, but I've made these ones with slightly narrower gaps in between the bars, which have made the bars a bit thicker and more rigid. So same design as that, but just change the dimensions on the slots. So I'm going to try 2 of those in there this time and see how that goes. So I'll fit those and I'll fit the jars, put these bees in. And one last thing, I think the cover strips I made, I just knocked them up out of some floorboards, hardwood floorboards. They're a bit on the heavy side. I'm not going to do it right away, but I will replace these with a softwood, probably the golden cypress that I have planks of, just so it's a bit lighter and easier to manoeuvre. The jars may be a problem. Maybe they were propelising up because through the glass jars in the bottom it's letting light in, and they might not like that. So I might darken that, but I did like the jars because I could see what was going on. So we'll see. I might block one up and not block up the other and see if that makes any difference. I'll screw these new tops for the jars in, and then we'll do the bee transfer, and that's the update on the LongLang. Stainless steel screws left over from the previous ones, so I'll just pop those in through the same holes. There we go. Screw the jars in the bottom. Okay, one of the Guardian hive beetle entrances broke, and so I didn't have the grill, the bottom part, so I put a new one on. So we're starting from scratch on the Guardian entrance test for the LongLang. It's just starting to sprinkle now, so I'd better hurry up because I've got days of rain ahead of me. I'll get these bees transferred in pronto. I was hoping this bit of rain would hold off a bit longer. Unfortunately, the weather rarely does what we want it to. So I don't know what sort of temperament these girls are. Lynn was telling me they weren't happy about being treated. That when she first caught them as a swarm, they were maybe not nasty, delightful, and then they've become a bit unhappy, a little agitated. So fingers crossed I'll be able to get them across. There's a beetle. There's a strip attached to this frame, and this feels quite heavy. So full frame of honey, almost all capped. Quite good numbers on there, as you see. So not bad looking, and not as many on the back. Not huge numbers, but they're obviously working the honey well enough. So I'm going to pop those in up this end just for now. That will become that honey bridge. Now we have, this one's a bit lighter. That's got brood in it. So the excluder's not worked. That's good to know. So that can go up the brood end. So far they're very calm. This one's very, oh right, this is an ideal. It's only got honey in there. Ideal to the Americans is sort of a half size, as you can see. I'm not sure what I'll do with that. I might just take it back to a, oh, there's another ideal. Maybe I can just put them in there and they can draw it down. They're drawing that one down, as you see. They'll use up that extra space. Looks like green colour. It seems, I don't know if that's been food dye and it's sugar syrup, I don't know. I'm not intending to draw any honey from these girls at all. Now we've got a green frame, so that's a drone frame. She might have put that comb of brood up from the bottom. She didn't say anything. The cells are drawing out nicely on here. So it's drone size, which happens to be good honey plastic frame size as well. But it looks like a bit of pollen in the bottom. We'll see what turns out with that. It's just stopped sprinkling, and that's why I'm sort of being a little more relaxed about the process here. So that's the first box done. I'm just putting the box up so hopefully the bees will crawl off the sides of the box and down in. And I'll just take this excluder off. It was just that one frame of drawn comb, so brood I should say. So I'm thinking Lynn may well have just transferred that up to make room for the queen to stop them swarming. So I'll just see how they are in the brood end. There's another strip down here, and she did tell me that that's what she'd done. It's a little squeezy getting, oh, I pulled the wrong frame. That's getting a big zigzag. I'll just very gently pull these up because it's quite crowded in this little nuke box. So far still calm. I don't want to roll the queen. Apparently she's quite a nice queen. Oh, good full. Lots of cat brood there, looking good. And on the other side, not spotting the queen, but I don't have my glasses on. I might knock that bottom bit of comb off. They might not have as much room in the LongLang that they have in the nuke box. That's a nice looking frame of brood. I'm going to upset their dance floor a little bit. So far so good. Just got a beetle. Not a lot of beetles. Just having a quick look for the queen. I might hold her over here in case. If she falls in this box, all the better. Not seeing her there. So I'll just pop her in. Just got a sting on my thumb. Actually quite a gentle one. Feeling it a bit more now. Oh, a nice full frame of bees. You can see it from over there. Plenty of cap brood. I'm not going to shake them off. I don't want to disturb them too much. Another beautiful looking frame. Almost all capped. Good full pattern. I better get pressed on. Another good frame of capped. I've not been seeing much in the way of larvae. There is larvae there, but not masses. A sticky next before the honey frames. Just so it gives them a bit more work to do. They can draw out there because all the comb so far has been... They've all emptied out of the box now. Going to put in another sticky for this time for honey. Excuse me. And then the ideal last of all, I think I've got everything. Now I'll put on the so this is the follower board last thing. Trying to get those last bees to go down that end. Put some covers on. Alright, so I'll just quietly, if you let me in there girls, I can cover you up. There you go, nice. I do like the whole concept of having these covers that only expose a few bees at a time. Covers about a little over 3 frames each, but it certainly makes it much easier to be getting in there. Maybe I'll leave that one off. I'm going to... So you've got to do a bit of manipulation with these frames. I'm going to leave that ideal out. They'll draw that last frame a bit too much, but I think that works. That'll do it. Now I'll just pop on the covers for the remainder. The covers on the far end aren't critical because there's no bees in there. I'm missing a narrow one. That's alright. Now I can close you. I need a cover over the feed hole. Let's see, that's it. That was it. The handle was just getting in the way on one of the lids. So that's that, but I've still got quite a few bees inside here. So I'm going to put those just temporarily until they all climb in. I'll see if I can show you what I've done. So I sort of ramped it. So that's it for this little update. Thanks for joining me. I'll let you know how they go over the next few weeks. There's a couple more weeks left of the strips in before I pull those out. That's probably the next time I'll go in to check on them. I don't think I need to do a wash on them at this stage because they've got the treatments in. But I'll certainly have to check, definitely no longer than 2 weeks. What we're finding in this heavy infestation time is that you pretty much got to do a wash every 2 weeks or so to know where you are. And as I found, if you let it go for 4 weeks, things can get out of hand really fast. This is Mike from Aussie Mike's Bees, where beekeeping is an obsession, and I'll see you next time.